Anna. Okay, gotcha. Welcome back to the Street Shamans Podcast. I'm your host, Shamanic Poe, aka Poe and the Rockstar, and today I'm here with opera singer and activist Anna Muravitskaya. How you doing, girl? How you been?
Hi, Poten. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, no problem. So how have you been, girl?
I've been good. I've been good. Um, yeah, a little, a little hard times here and there, but that's okay.
No doubt,
That's
no doubt.
that's just life.
What kind of hard times? Like personal family matter or just
Like dating and stuff.
oh dating?
hmm just you know,
Picking the wrong ones? What's going on?
basically, yes, yes.
It happens. It does happen. So what else have you been up to outside of that?
I've been performing, um, and doing a little bit of recording, um, getting my website up. Um, and yeah, I'm in the very beginning stages of also developing like an online vocal coaching course, which I never thought like that'd be a need for that. But I was like, I don't, I don't think there's anything like that out there, at least
What
not that
type
I found.
what type of
Um,
course are you? You're developing a course, you said, right?
yes.
So what type of course are you developing right now? Where does it fit?
So like a vocal coach, but something that you buy. So right now I teach. I do personal, like face to face vocal coaching, and then I'll also provide Zoom classes. But I'm like, what if they can just buy a package, and like it's like videos of me going through like I don't know vocal exercises, like technique, all of that stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's smart. I think a lot of people are just trying to find their way right now to provide a service like classes, teaching people on whatever it is. I think it's smart and I think it could be lucrative. I think it could, bring you some money and stuff. So tell me about the singing because obviously you sing opera and how did you become an opera singer?
Um, it's weird. I probably when I was like 11 years old, around the time we came here to this country, um, I heard tapes of like the original three tenors. Um, they're probably not the original. They're like the second pair of the three tenors, like Caruso. And I just heard and I was like, I can do that. And I didn't even, I played piano. I took piano lessons when I was little and dance lessons and I did like choir stuff, but I was never, you know, and I just heard operatic singing and I was like, I was so in awe of that. And I told my mom right then and there, I was like, I can do that. She's like, she kind of laughed at me. She's like, yeah, you kind of have to train really hard. And then I got accepted to the Conservatory of Music, the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, as a prep student when I was like 12 or 13. Um, and I started taking vocal lessons, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Well, you know, lots of ups and downs, but kind of went from there. Yeah.
No doubt, no doubt. So now you have like you're a regular at a certain spot, right, where you sing regularly.
Yes.
And what's that spot called again?
It's called Chez New, and it's a little freedom spot down in Redwood City. It's a big cafe with a grand piano in it, and I was able to put on shows there without any kind of mandates or restrictions throughout this whole thing.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Because I know you're against your mandates and restrictions, right? You're against the censorship as well. I've seen you go out, like I've seen pictures of you going out holding up signs or whatnot, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you get into all of that? Obviously you and I are the same. I don't fuck with censorship at all either. You know what I mean? But how did you get into that? What made you go out there in the streets and do that?
Mm, That I got into once I sort of, I hate to call this freedom tribe. It's such a like, but like once I met my freedom tribe. Um, uh, it's, you know, for a whole year, I think during 2020, I was kind of by myself, like going on hikes every day and like doing my own little thing. And then I found, um, I signed up to this, what is it, People's Rights, through Alan Stevo, who wrote Masks in One Lesson. It's a book on masks, basically, and how you can get around wearing one, you know, and because San Francisco was pretty, like, you know, you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go shopping at a store, nowhere. And he started organizing like these maskless meetings. And, you know, I started meeting up with people who, lo and behold, you know, felt the same as me. And we started organizing rallies, like, you know, through just like getting on a signal group, you know, with a bunch of people and like organizing a rally. And yeah, and protesting and being called white supremacists as we're doing that and all that stuff.
Being called white supremacist because you are against censorship and you're for freedom of speech. So that's, you know, obviously that's the stupidity of the world that we're living in right now. But how did that make you feel that you were like, wait a minute, me,
I mean, you know, Potent, I was in the queer community drag performance scene for like 10 years, doing like backup dancing, doing shows. And so I was very deep into that community. And then come May 2020, and you hear it was like the frontline doctors or something like that talking about hydrochloroquine and, you know, being like, we have cures, like there's nothing to worry about, you know. And they start getting censored, or they start getting hate on mainstream media. And I made a peep on Facebook about, you know, why are like, this is the time when we should be listening to doctors, all doctors, like, this is what science is, right? Like, you have all of these different opinions, and then research happens, and then we call it science.
right.
So, and then that same community basically was like, you're such a racist, you know, they booted me. I got kicked to the curb from the left very quickly and ended up somehow in the conservative camp, which I never considered myself a conservative, you know.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how it goes, you know. If you're, even the people who, I think what was happening in the Bay, people who were not really behind the whole mask thing, or kind of knew it was BS, they would still wear one because they didn't want to be called Trump supporters.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a lot of virtual signaling when it comes to that shit. Just like, hey, I'm with you guys. Hey, don't cancel me. Don't fuck with me. I'm with you. And for me, like, I just released a song. What is it? Probably like a month and a half ago, going on 2 months now. Cancel culture, where I advertised it to the niche group that I thought would fuck with it. My partner that did the song with me, he ended up just advertising it to whoever liked hip hop. And there was just this slew of hate, especially on Facebook, like, oh, you guys are Republican. And it was like, for one, we didn't even mention any politics at all on the song. We didn't say anything about liberals, conservatives, Republican. We didn't say shit. We just said about cancel culture. And we were getting a slew of hate from people. But people nowadays, the stupidity is at an all-time high. So I take that with a grain of salt. Right now, they're canceling Lizzo because she used the word spazzing on the song. She said, "Oh, spaz is actually a bad word because I forgot what the actual word is that it abbreviates. Spaz is spastic or something. It's for people with limbs that don't work or some shit like that. So now they're canceling. Now they're trying to cancel her or censor her, and now this is a slew of new shit. Like, oh, now we can't say spaz.
Right.
So every time you turn around, it's like, oh, that word, no, not that word, and it's for people that are fucking. What are you doing with your lives? Because people that are actually doing something with their lives, we don't have time to sit around and worry about, oh, that word is actually hurts my feelings. We don't care. We are on to the next. We got something else to do, right?
Yep.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it
Yep.
crazy the time that we're living in right now?
Yeah. This is why I like your song Retarded.
Right?
Don't you have a song called Retarded?
Yes, I do.
Where you're venting basically about all of this BS, but the simple fact that the title is like a taboo word, you know?
Right. Right. The song isn't really taboo. I mean, if you hear it in the context of the song, everything in there, it's pretty accurate. It's pretty, to my knowledge, from my perspective, it's
Right.
accurate of the times. And I also admit fault that I was in that same realm before.
Same here.
Right.
Same here. I was the first. It's so crazy because in my family, in my circle of friends, I was always the crazy liberal girl, who's like pro queer rights and,
Same.
like let your freak flag fly, whatever, whatever square, like everything's good. And all of a sudden, even now with like my extended family, I'm like the weird, crazy conservative girl. I'm like, I'm not even that conservative. Like, I'm very middle of the road about
Right.
most things,
Right.
but the line has been pushed so far down to the left that like now I seem like a conservative, and I don't know, maybe personally, I think just, with the current administration, how it's heading, like maybe we do need more Republicans in the office just to like balance it out, like
Right.
balance the madness out,
Right. See, where I'm at right now, Anna, it's I don't give a fuck about none of that political shit because I see through the game. If you put more of this or more of that, what we actually would need more of is just other groups. They don't fall into this box, they don't fall into that box, they fall into a different box completely.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll balance it out some. But the liberals are doing stuff that conservatives used to do. Censoring people is pretty conservative in my eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody to say, "Oh, you're conservative because you want freedom of speech and you want to let everybody say what they want to say," is asinine.
Yeah.
It's backwards.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like you're liberal, but you're into fucking total. I can't even fucking say the word right now. You know the word I'm trying to say?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
I can't even fucking say it. But yeah, you know exactly what I'm trying to say. Um, it's backwards. It's like how are you liberal, but you're also for top down authority?
Yeah. Well, it's because what David Icke says that, he's like, we can't call them liberals anymore. They're the left. He was like, I subscribe to Iconic, so I listen to his like newscast every week. And oh, hi, UG. Yeah, liberal totalitarianism.
Right, totalitarianism. I gotta read it before in my head. I didn't have it in there. It's not even a word that I care about, but it's what they're dealing with right now. It's what we're dealing with right now. It's fucked up, man. It's fucked up.
Yeah,
It's fucked up.
it's hard, like I'll hang out with like somebody like my cousin, and then my mom is a little bit more middle of the, she kind of sees through the BS, but not really. And so I'm looked at as the crazy person, like when I speak about like, I don't know, vaccine injuries, anything like that. Can I say that on here?
I mean, you could say that, but you can't go into the details of everything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I had one video pulled down, even though I don't monetize it. I have one video that got just private. It just went private. YouTube was like, no, private that shit, which was crazy. And we were talking actually about the war that's going on right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
Which is also, that's so
that's probably the
polarized.
hot. Yeah, that's the hot topic right now. That's the hot topic. I don't think
Yeah.
they care too much about the pandemic and everything that just happened because it already happened and they did what they wanted to do anyway. So now their main concern is what's going on with this war. They don't want the truth to really be out there. They'll let a couple people say it, but if you try to parrot that or add to what they're saying, they'll shut you down or they'll silence you basically,
Yeah.
which is, you know, it's not even fun. Like a lot of this shit to me, even doing the podcast, I love talking to new people and having these interactions, but it's not fun anymore because there's so many things you can't say. It's like you're walking through a landmine of a conversation. It's like I gotta tippy toe, make sure I don't step on nothing. And that's not fun. It's not fun.
Walk, walking on eggshells, 100%. What
Right.
what I see happening with the wars is, there's like both sides are activated, right? And people are like yelling, screaming at each other, kind of what was happening with the COVID thing, right? Like the two. So it's like they've infected again both sides with this hatred, right? And like you hear, like, I on Facebook, which is, God knows why, but like I heard somebody scream the screaming match against a kid who was saying like, who was pro Ukraine, right? Who was like saying um, Slava Ukraini, which is um, uh, like pride to Ukraine, right? And
Right.
so a dude, and this was not even like in Russia, this was in Germany, right? But two Russian speaking people went at it, and I'm just like, what? Like, you guys know? I mean, I grew up in the Soviet. I'm from Ukraine, right? So,
Right.
but I grew up in Ukraine when it was still Russian speaking Ukraine. Like,
Right.
I don't even speak the Ukrainian language. I sing in it sometimes. Like, I actually did a show um, a few weeks ago where I like just sang Ukrainian and Russian folk songs together. Um, and but I never learned the language. And school, everything, all of life was in Russian because it was during the Soviet Union. It was only like
Right.
after the breakup, right?
Right.
So, and I'm like, you guys literally, like, it's almost the same culture. Like, it's only been 20 or 30 odd years that like the culture's kind of, but it's all stems from the Soviet Union. Like, it's not, yes, the languages are slightly different, because I can
Right.
kind of understand Ukrainian. I wouldn't be able to have a big conversation. I could probably like get by,
Right.
but I'm just like, this is so, there's like your brothers, like your you know Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, used to be old Russia. Like,
Right. Right.
prior to, I mean, Moscow is like 800 years old. So prior to Moscow being built, like, Kiev was the capital of old Russia. And then there was like a certain political or something division, right? And then Kiev fell under Polish rule for 300 years. And that's where you got the Ukrainian language. It was a mixture
Mm.
of Russian and Polish, right? And then, they built Moscow as the capital of Russia, but it's like, it's literally,
The
you're
same,
from the
basically
same
the
land.
same. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same shit basically. Slightly different language like you said and norms. Maybe they have slightly different traditions, but it's from the same, right? It's from the same shit
Yeah.
basically, which is like Puerto Ricans fighting with Dominican Republic or Cuba or like it doesn't make any sense to even go that route. And I think that they could find a better understanding at the end of the day. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't even and I know that we're fueling it. We're making sure that this shit continues. So we'll stop right there. We're not even gonna talk no more about that because I know they're gonna block my shit if we keep on going into depth. But let's go back a little bit into the music stuff. So you
Okay.
you wanted to be an opera singer. Did you ever want to be a pop singer or like singer songwriter?
No, I don't really have a talent for writing songs. I have a talent for making music sound pretty and beautiful and expressive.
Right. Right.
Um, I did like in the drag scene, they mostly do lip syncing. I did like live singing of like some pop songs. Like there was like a Beyonce song that I did, Sia, Mariah Carey. So I've done like live two basically a pre-recorded like karaoke, not to like a live band. So I've done, pop stuff like that on stage, but it just doesn't like it doesn't really do anything for me. Like it
For you.
doesn't. I'm like, like, but then when I sing, um, to me, folk and classical music is just to me feels more soulful, or that I can express
Right.
myself better.
Right.
And so that's why I like it. Like I can really express myself, my emotions through that music.
Right. So where do you see yourself going with this, with the opera music? Are you trying to get into theaters? Are you trying to pursue that professionally where you're touring and stuff like that? What are you trying to do?
I would love to, if Europe opens up. I mean, if they right now with the professional like theaters, they're requiring proof of stuff, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Um, and you still have to like come to an audition wearing a face covering and all of that. And so um, right now, what I see happening is I see doing small venues, um, until I could possibly build up enough audience or enough sort of like demand that I can like go to a bigger venue and just be like, I'm not doing any of these whatever mandates, and possibly
Right.
like have my sight sets on Florida, because that's sort of the freedom land at the moment. Can we even say
Right.
that? Say that?
It is, yeah, you can say that. We can say that. So you being opera singer, are you worried about clout? Even though you need some of it to build and to move on, but are you really worried about clout or catching a viral moment online?
I I I don't know. I don't know if this was always, the weird thing about classical music, because it doesn't really go viral, it's not in demand like that.
Right.
Like, and part of the reason why I sort of went into like, doing small theater and doing drag and stepped away from, more serious opera stuff, because I was like, when I would go to the San Francisco Opera, it almost felt like dead to me, unless you had like a really good singer performing, like somebody that that's famous. Like there was just this very stagnant energy around it, like almost sometimes when you go to a museum, and you look at art in a museum and you're like, even though it's presented like, I mean, I'm there's a purpose to museums, but sometimes especially with modern art, like you go and you almost feel like this is where art comes to die. Like there's no energy around it, there's no, it feels like a hospital for art or something,
Right.
if that
Right.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that sometimes with like opera productions, is they're so stagnant, right? They're like playing them and performing them in this like, there's because and it's old music, right? Like they're written like
Right.
however 300 years ago. So I get that. And they're always trying to, you know, innovate it. Um, but for me, it's I want to sing it. I want to sing it for people who necessarily don't even like never even thought about going to the opera, but like bring that music alive, like sing it in a way that's interesting to them, hearing it now, not even understanding the language, but just because the music is interesting. Because
Right.
with classical music, it's always relevant. Like I don't know how many artists I've gone through. Like I was so obsessed with Amy Winehouse when she was really hot. Um, and then the last one was like Billie Eilish, that like I really like I listened to. But it's like it phases out, and like the only thing that really stays with me is like classical music, like. And
Right.
I remember reading, there's a Nina Simone who they interviewed her. There was I want to say Jimi Hendrix, but it wasn't. It was like few of like the rock stars who were like um super hot in like 70s, like 80s. And they asked them like, who's your favorite composer? And almost all of them are like Bach. Like Bach's my favorite composer, right? Like, so you have somebody. Well, Nina Simone was a classical pianist. Like that's how
Mm.
she was started playing venues, was because she was, she studied classical music actually with a Russian teacher, and then she was playing um, at her mom's church, like gospel music.
Right. Right.
And they like the common thread I noticed with like rock stars or folk stars, they'll be like, who's your favorite? And they're like Bach, like, because that's most music stems from that, it stems from
Right.
that structure.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't see it going viral. I think the last big opera stars, the female big opera, well, now it's Netrepka, right? But the
Mm.
last like worldwide huge one was like Maria Callas. And then Pavarotti made opera big back in like the 90s, because he was doing all of these concerts where he was like singing with like Sting and like other, I think he even sang with Grace Jones at some point. So there have been a few who've like brought it to the mainstream.
Right.
So I don't know. At this point, I just kind of want to sing for people and feel good about, making money and doing what I love to do.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's the goal for a lot of musicians, a lot of singers. People think because they get bombarded with a lot of imagery of people getting money, fame, all this, big house, 5 car garage, 5 cars in their garage or whatever the fuck. But the reality is, for the bulk of us, we just want to be able to perform, make a couple dollars where we can sustain ourselves and we can live, but just be able to perform and do our craft so we can, because we enjoy doing it and we enjoy when other people enjoy it as well. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that, especially like family members, friends. When you say, hey, I want to go do some music, they're like, oh, you think you're gonna be over here big and tall over here with all this money and shit. And that's the reason why they don't want to support half the time. They don't want to support what you're doing because they think, oh, this motherfucker thinks he's gonna get all this money, he's gonna leave me behind and shit. But realistically, that is, it is like a lottery shot. It's like winning the fucking lottery. And that's not what most musicians want. We just want to be able to perform, enjoy ourselves, and do what we love. You feel the same
Yep.
way?
Yep. Yep. 100%. There's this, I mean, especially when you're younger, I think you're like, you think you're gonna be famous, and and like you said, it's lottery. You might be, um, but I don't know. Fame is also a double-edged sword, right? Like
Right.
it's great
Absolutely.
to be famous and make money, but then there's all sorts of other backlash that comes with it.
Right.
Um, it's good to be acknowledged. It's good to be recognized for what you do. Um, but really, I think I'm at this point where I'm just like, I just want to open my mouth and have sound come out and have people go like, or whatever their reaction is.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's basically the whole thing. It's like I want to be able to sing, make the song, sing the song. People go, "Oh shit, I like that song. I like that idea. I like what you did there." Or, if you for you singing, performing, being able to go, "Hey, look how I can hit this note, and I'm gonna hit this note." And because I've seen a couple of videos of you where you was just like singing and you was in your moment and shit. And I'm like, you see, she's feeling it. She wants, she just wants to perform and do it right. That's it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people overlook that. They think, ah, it's bullshit. You're just saying that you really want the money. It's like, yeah, the money be great, but I also know what comes with money and the fame and all the bullshit behind closed doors that people don't really get to see on a day-to-day basis for having that type of money or fame. or both,
Yeah.
right?
But it also takes a lot of, it's a lot of work, right? I mean, this. Do choosing No one really chooses this path to like because they want like an easy ride. Like this is
Right,
it's a lot of work.
right,
Um it took For me it was a long haul with like I this is how I actually know you through Richard Grannon, right?
right,
And I found him because I was like, whatever, got out of another bad relationship. But I realized I was like, oh my God, I have all of this stuff from childhood that I need to heal and like
right,
work through,
right,
So, and that also impedes your sort of destiny, whatever you want to call it, like your path in life, right? Like when you've had like so much junk or fog in your head that kind of prevents you from following what you, or even prevents you from like training, or from
right.
practice,
Moving forward, yeah,
moving
absolutely,
moving forward, and like I took the last 2 years, with the lockdowns, it was kind of almost like, you know perfect, because I lost my job and I was like, well, I have all this time now to like sit at home and like really put some practice time in, because when you have a 9 to 5, it's like, when are you going to practice? When are you
right,
going to do, especially with something like operatic singing? It's not like, I dated um a jazz musician in the past, and he was a real like night butterfly. He would like stay up late at night, but he would practice on his keyboard and he would just plug headphones in, right? And so he
mm-hmm,
wasn't he wasn't disturbing his roommates or neighbors. Like
right,
it was all on mute, right? And he would just sit there and play till like 3 4 in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, I can't really do that, like, unless I put something over my mouth, right? I have
right,
like a certain time frame when I could practice, right?
right.
Because otherwise they'll call the cops. Um, so, it's like I have to like fit it in within, a certain. So yeah, and then once you start getting good at something, it's so like it's such a huge difference making just going to work and like, yeah, you get paid great, whatever. Like I did art modeling for the Academy of Art University. That was like my 9 to 5. And it's good. I'm good at it. Like I have some, like, you see, where is it? Oh, where do I point? Oh, right there, right there. That's me up there. That's by a Japanese artist who was a teacher there. Um, and so, but like, it's just a job. It's like, whatever,
Right,
like there's plenty of other art models, who cares? Like it's not that. But then like when you're like, I put so much time and effort into this and I'm good at it, and like people, like, you get so much satisfaction from being like, oh, when I get paid to do this, like
right, right.
when you're actually good at something, it's a whole
Absolutely,
different ball game.
absolutely. Yeah, it's like even making my projects, making albums or making an EP, making a song, and then people respond to it and people actually give me money. It's like, yeah, it's good. Like I still got to work another job, but yeah, it's good to even get some type of kickback from what I'm doing here with the podcast, with my music, whatever it is. And it feels good because you feel like you're on the right path. But that's about it. It's not like, yeah, people fuck with me. I'm not, I'm the shit. These motherfuckers over here. Because I know plenty of people that do music and they just haven't figured out even to get paid from it. They'll get on Spotify, they'll boost their numbers on YouTube, Spotify, whatever. It'll look really good, but I know that they're not really making any money at all because they don't have real fans, like actual people that support them. You know, it's a little bit, it's a tricky industry to get into for
Yeah.
sure, especially with music, because you have to love it. You have to want to do it for free. You can't just be like, I'm gonna do this only for money. Like, if there's no money, would you still do it? The answer gotta be yes. It's gotta be
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Okay,
100%.
so
Yeah.
absolutely. So here's a question. Did you hear about the pride events that are happening like in DC and LA where drag, because I know you're into this type of stuff, there's been drag shows and things of that nature exposing children to genitalia and all types of buffoonery. How do you feel about that?
So I kind of saw the trend for this when it was first starting. I used to work for in a little vintage boutique, and my boss was a cross dresser. And
Mm-hmm.
he, on like certain holidays, right? He had like a brick and mortar store that had like a stage, and he would do like story time, right? And he actually dressed very conservatively, like he wore like vintage clothing, and and he would like sit and read stories to little kids, whoever parents in the neighborhood would bring their kids. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. What does it hurt, right? He just looks like a very conservative. Maybe it's a little weird and confusing for kids to even see, because they kind of know it's a man, right? But he's dressed as
Mm-hmm.
a woman.
Right.
So I was like, but whatever, fine. Parents want to expose themselves, their kids to that. Okay.
Right.
Um, but now that, and I saw, witnessed all of this with the whole transgender agenda now, like with this progression into that, like it just became more to the point where like everything got not polarized, what do you call it, like activated, weaponized, right? Like
Weaponized.
the word tranny got weaponized. Like I used to perform in this show called Tranny Shack that was run by Heklina, and it was a 20-year-old show, drag show, that was happening at the DNA Lounge. She changed her name to Mother, the name of the show, right? And I'm just like, Mother, why is a drag show named Mother? What, like, it's not a wholesome show. It's not, why are you calling it some, right? And the idea was like taking away the word trainee and making it like mother as an umbrella term for everyone, all the queers.
Right.
And so, and I saw this and I was like, okay, fine. Really, it's a niche. Gender bending can be fun. It's a really it's a niche part of society, right? Where adults go to clubs and then they can experience gender bending, weird shows, whatever.
Right.
Now that they're, you know, like I saw this one video where, yeah, parents are bringing their kids to drag shows, right? And where there's like kind of striptease happening or grinding or whatever. And I'm just like, how do you not see that this is essentially like child abuse? Like that this is a child seeing somebody gender bend is already confusing enough, right? Like, and I'm not saying it could be detrimental. It could just be like, weird, right?
Right.
But to add the sex element to that, where there's like genitalia is exposed or what, I mean, that just screams child abuse. Like,
Yeah, it's gone too far. It's gone too far. And right now, what is crazy about that is that they're doing their best to not really show that. They're not trying to penalize them for doing stuff like that. They're doing their best to keep it hush hush. And it kind of shows a little bit of the agenda of where they're trying to go. Add that with kids learning about sexuality at 9 years old or whatever the fuck. It kind of shows where they're trying to go in a way. And it's a little scary. It's a little scary because, yeah, I knew about sex when I was 8, 9 years old, but I was fast. I was in the streets. I was out there. So, yeah, I knew about a bunch of shit that probably I shouldn't know. And I could tell you right now that it was detrimental to my life in one way or another. So, to just expose kids to shit like this and act like it's okay is, beyond me.
yeah, we're sexualizing kids. Yeah, I remember when sex ed was like, and there's certain conservatives that think that like sex ed shouldn't even exist, even from like the classes where they teach you like basic stuff. Um, and then I don't really know, because now I'm at this point where I'm like, why should even we learning that in schools anyways, right? Like, if your parents choose to like educate you on that, or like give you a certain book or whatever it is, right? Or if you ask your parents, then that could be a private conversation. But like, I mean, I grew up, I thought it was like normal that we had sex ed, right? But now I'm like thinking back on this, and I'm like, why is there even a class on? There should be like math, English or whatever language, like science, there should be like just
Right.
like, this is what school is for. Like, why, how is it crossing into this like very personal area of life?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, because
And
it's
I mean,
we're pushing we haven't sex ed pushed onto kids, but we still haven't even taught kids finances. Yeah, we know math, but the kids should know finances. They should know banking. They should know about loans. They should know about being able to create their own businesses and stuff. They should be learning that quick and early. But instead, we're worried about sexuality, which is essentially nobody's business but your own, what you like and what you do.
exactly. Yeah. Or certain crafts, right? Like, why aren't kids exploring like different, like building something, crafting something, whatever it is. Um, and and part of me almost thinks like, if kids were so busy learning or discovering what they want to do, they probably wouldn't even be thinking about sex, or if they are
Right.
and they are exploring in their own way, like, fine, right? But
Right.
yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you could tell by the kids that aren't really focused on that shit. Those are the kids that get successful early. They just plugged into whatever they want to do, whether it's computer programming, YouTubing, whatever. They get successful early because they're focusing solely on that task at hand. Worrying about sexuality and how you're supposed to talk to certain people and how you address certain people, especially as a kid, I could see it being a little confusing, and it could be just a little, it's a conundrum of just bullshit that the kids should not even care about outside of their own sexuality. Kids are supposed to grow up judging and making fun of things. That's my opinion. They're supposed to make fun of things that they don't understand because that's how everybody grows up. That's how everybody learns to understand certain things. At the beginning, you don't know what the fuck that is. You make fun of it. Oh my God, look at that shit over there. And then eventually you go, oh, I know about that.
yeah,
It's
totally.
You're trying to take that away from them, and it's to whose benefit and to whose detriment. Like, who is that for exactly? And why are you so worried about that instead of worrying about kids learning about finances or, getting their shit together?
Yeah, that's a good question. Who's that for, right? Like, who benefits? I think it's an important question, and they try to pass it off as like, well, it's for the benefit of the kids. It's clearly not. Like, I don't understand how they don't see how much damage like that could do, right? To even, because even if you're not, like, if a child is not like, is not like, the physicality of it is not imposed on them physically, right? Like, they're not raped, they're not like sexually harassed, but like, if they're just in the presence of adults doing, like, that's already a boundary break. Like, that's already sexual harassment, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, it's a huge boundary break for adults to experience that. right? But then for like a little kid, and then to have like your parents be there with you is like just a whole nother level of weird.
Right. Absolutely. Groomers benefit. Human trafficking is lucrative and gets expensive and inconvenient for legalities and fines getting in the way. Yeah, absolutely though. Yeah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. It's all fucked up, and we should know that it's fucked up. That's step one. Step one is for everybody to understand, yo, this is fucked up right here. And then from there, we can learn and we can expand and we can explore some different options on how we can possibly make a difference or change for the better of the whole society. Anyway,
Yeah.
Anna Muravitskaya, how
Yeah.
you let everybody know where you're at and how they could find you and shit.
They could find me. It's on the Muravitskaya, my whole name.com is my website. And same goes for my Instagram handle. So Anna underscore Muravitskaya underscore.
Muravitskaya. See, yo, I
Yeah.
practiced that. I want to let everybody know I practiced that because it's a mouthful of a last name, but I had to learn it. I didn't want to fuck it up for her. She was saying to say Anna M. I was like, no, Muravitskaya. I'm gonna say it right. I'm gonna say it right. Yo, this is the Street Shaman Podcast. I am your host, Shamanic Poe, aka Poe and the Rockstar. Thank you for all your time and attention, the comments, the chats, donations if y'all donated. I appreciate y'all. And we out of here, motherfucker.